Paul Wills, our Bloomfield Hills owners rep, so he oversees financial stewardship of the bond as the board's representative. And Paul is employed by Plante, Moran, CRESA. Paul, could you just give the community like a sentence on Plante Moran and
Sure.
who you are and what you do for us? Thank you.
Absolutely. So again, my name is Paul Wills. I'm a partner with Plante, Moran, CRESA, and we're the capital projects group within Plante Moran. We assist a lot of districts throughout the state of Michigan, acting as owner's rep or program manager when they take on a large bond program. So we work with 35 of the top 50 districts around the state of Michigan, and we oversee about $3 billion in K-12. So also as a district resident, I'm also proud to be here to help shepherd this $200 million process going forward. So, all right, Ms. Beth. Oh. There we go. Excellent, thank you. So this is actually kind of a recap from the May FFLA update that Trustee Kumar presented to the board. So this is really a confirmation of the preschool plan that was kind of presented from scope and design. We're going to talk specifically about the buildings, kind of where the programs are at now, where they're going forward. And we're going to talk a little bit about the financials as you can relate to each of those programs. And then we'll talk about the schedule going forward for both of these. So really, people are saying, well, why are we here today? If you recall from that update, BidPack 5, which is actually the Conant and Way Elementary additions, renovations, there's a pre-K component to the Conant facility piece, which we were going from there. Perfect, thank you. So again, 3 parts of the presentation. Again, it's very brief, and it's really just an update from FFLA. Now we're at committee as a whole. So again, from Conant Elementary School, that's going to continue to house, and again, as the district goes to that K-5 model, in the fall of 23, there will be a pre-K component to the existing 3 classrooms that are currently there. Eastover, what's going to happen is that program is going to relocate to East Hills Middle School, which will become East Hills Elementary, which is a K-5, and that will be backfilled with a pre-K program serving the Bloomfield preschools. So again, this just kind of shows some of the cores going from the 4 elementaries to the 2 middle schools and ultimately up to the high school. So Fox Hills and Bloom and Lone Pine, again, a lot of still discussions coming forth. Mr. Watson, myself, and others have kind of reached out to some of the neighbors. Again, working on some surveys to figure out what's the long-term assets for the district going forward. So not to be forgotten at these aspects going forward. So in terms of financials, I don't expect you to read the 3 slides on the right, but again, these are some of the caps that you've seen before. So this is the bond summary of $200,155,000. Of that, Conant Elementary has $18.8 million. And it's actually split between Series 1 and Series 2. So as we know, Series 1 was sold last year for roughly $94 million. There's a component of that secondary construction, which is part of Series 2, which would be in 23. Eastover, about $7.2 million. Those program costs are all in Series 2. So that's, again, why we're here tonight, is just to confirm the Conant aspect of pre-K going forward. So what we heard from French Associates, who is the district's architect, there were some concerns from the initial design. From FFLA presentation in May, they actually had 5 different areas of construction. So they actually had the gymnasium that was going to potentially be where the early education center is now. They're going to put on some special education classrooms. They're going to do the kindergarten classrooms and the secured vestibule. We've been able to actually work with the district's facilities team, working with the principal and the administrators, as well as the design team. We've actually been able to reduce those 5 areas down to 3. So I just want to kind of walk you through these areas themselves. So you have here the secured entry. So again, just similar to every single school in the district will have a secured vestibule. These are the 5 kindergarten classrooms that are being constructed. The gym was originally going to be located right here, and you'll see on the site plan of why it makes more sense to be back here. But again, it's going to be its own independent cafeteria, storage, and toilet rooms. Here you have the 3 existing early childhood centers. We're actually going to construct 7 more for a total of 10. And that's important because if you look at 15 to 20 kids, that's going to be able to accommodate the roughly 170 students that are currently at both Lone Pine and Conant. So again, maybe even expand a little bit to that capacity by having 10 total classrooms at Conant going forward. The other thing we heard was, again, how do you create that separate playground? So again, with the early childhood center, they have an outdoor playground here. From a cafeteria aspect, you've got the upper elementary, lower elementary playgrounds. Obviously, you have kindergarten playgrounds. We're able to repurpose the existing gymnasium into 3 special education centers, along with a gross motor skill, which you have highlighted in blue. And And then also the STEM lab and the media center. So again, renovating these spaces to really create that consistency across all the districts. We also heard about access onto the site. So having passed on Corton during bell times, we've actually come up with a secondary entrance. And then from administrative time is looking at the K-5 and early childhood bell start. So the concerns that were kind of brought up by French, I think we've been able to address all of those 4 concerns with this solution going forward. Over at Eastover, again, when the K-5 programs are being consolidated to the East Hills, this really, again, renovates the secured office and vestibules. This actually gives you a total of 26 total classrooms. So if you look at Fox Hills, which, by the way, my 2 nieces are there, and my nephews, coming up through the ranks, which is great. We're actually going from 15 classrooms up to 26 total classrooms for Eastover Early Childhood Center. So again, a capacity for additional growth in that area. So at the end of the day, again, Mr. Rules, why are we here today? We are going to come back to the board. You take a funneling process from scope design to the bond programming to the actual detailed drawings. We're going to be coming back to the board in the November timeframe to give you an update on the design development estimate, or the DD estimate. So we did that during the middle school processes to allow you to kind of look at the scope documents. Again, how does that tie into the long-term goals and objectives of the district for middle school? We're going to do the same thing here at the elementary schools with Conant and Way classroom additions and multi-purpose room. Ultimately, we're going to go out for bids in that December timeframe. And just like we did for the middle schools, you're going to be seeing a lot of us in that March, April, May timeframe as we start to roll out these timeframes. So that's why it was important for us tonight to really give an update to the board, kind of as a follow-up and a recap from the FFLA meeting back in May. And at this time, I'd like to turn it back over to the board administration for any questions.